Good morning to all the folks online here. We'll be looking at some important things that we want to cover with subdivision layout using Carlson LotNet. Want to get right to all the important stuff that is on everybody's mind right now. So let's go ahead and take a look at your final four brackets. Hopefully you have those all done. I'm guessing this is on a lot of folks' minds today. So moving on to more important things. That's right. Tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Hope you're looking forward to that and the March Madness. And what would a PowerPoint be without a gratuitous plug for our Go West Regional Conference? We'll get this in at the start so we don't have to do it later. There is still time to go to the conference. It's April 4 through 6 in Denver. So if you haven't registered, do consider that. All right, which brings us back to why we're all here today, and that is the Carlson LotNet software. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Where I'd like to start is, what the heck is Lot Network? Lot Network is several collections of tools. So we have tools that we use to create lots, subdivide areas. We have various tools to edit those lots once they've been created. So the automated tool may not always do the best job that you want. You may want to improve that, so we have tools for doing that editing. When you're done editing, we have tools to allow you to manage those lots so that you can create legal descriptions for them, various lot reports, and keep track of the information associated with those. So that's kind of what LotNet is. Where do you find Lot Network in your Carlson software? I currently am running the Carlson 2022 version with IntelliCAD. I have the survey module loaded. We all can tell that by noting that I have a survey and a COGO menu. If you go to the area layout pull-down menu, about halfway down you'll find the Lot Network commands, and there are a whole bunch of those. You'll also find Lot Network on your area layout ribbon in the Lot Network section. A third location where you can get to these is with the Lot Network toolbar. The Lot Network toolbar has pretty much the same commands as the Lot Network ribbon, and you access the toolbar by right-clicking in the toolbar area, going to Show Toolbars, Carlson, and scrolling down to Lot Network and toggling it on. One of the things I'd like to point out is that the toolbar and the ribbon menus are not as comprehensive as the tools you'll find on the pull-down menu. So you may find yourself going to the pull-down menu, even if you do tend to use the ribbon or the toolbar for some of your other functions. There'll be some things you'll just need to go to the pull-down menu for. I'll probably tend to use some of each of them as we go through our work today. Like a lot of our other Carlson routines, this one starts with settings. We're going to go through 2 or 3 different workflows on how you can do these things, depending on what's more comfortable for you and which one you feel works best for your project. But they all tend to start with the Lot Network settings. First thing you'll want to do is create a Lot Network file as an LTN extension. You can see it wants to be named, in this case, the same thing as my drawing, and I'm okay with that. The Lot Network file is going to store all the data for our settings, our lots, and various other aspects of our Lot Network. So you'll see at the top here, it's identified our Lot Network file. You can have multiple Lot Network files, so you could select a different one. It says Road Network None. So Lot Network does work with Road Network. If you only run our civil or survey software, you may not be familiar with Road Network at all. We're going to look at that approach in another project here, but it's part of our Road Network is primarily part of our civil software. but we'll see some applications where there's connections between the two. For this job, we won't use a road network file. We're going to start with a lot name of 1, and we're going to have those lot lines drawn away from the frontage. So the direction of the polyline is going always to the back lot line. The other option is to draw toward the frontage. The lot output file is a file that actually contains all the information about each individual lot. What building footprint is put on it, what points are on the corners. It's one of the places you can get some of the reports and the legal descriptions generated from. And we can generate that later. So I'm going to wait until we get any edits done that we might want to do before I create that output file. We can automatically update our labels. And I guess the main thing I want to point out here is at this point, I'm not going to label the lines and arcs. Again, because there may be edits that we do. And if we do some edits, I don't want to have everything updating all the time while I'm trying to go through and clean up my lots. But I do want to label the areas because that's my target. I want to try and get lots of a certain size. And so if I can have the areas labeled, then I know what adjustments I can make and where I can make them and how to make those. We can come back and label the lines and arcs later. The other one I want to look at, which I tend to float by easily, is this building placement settings, in part because it doesn't have a toggle. If I click on Edit, you'll see here I have options for setbacks, and I can draw those setbacks in the drawing. I have my layer for that. I can draw building pads and have a layer for the building. We can also put driveways in, and our driveways have a layer that they go to, and also have a connection type. So we can go straight out to the right-of-way. We can put curves or flares on them, and we'll look at those options a little later. Continuing on down, this information that we're looking at here is our default lot type. You can create additional lot types by specifying a separate lot line layer if you want, name your lot type, and then have different settings for that lot. You can even set up different building placement parameters, so different setbacks and those types of things. Put a different house on those lots. Okay, so those are the basic settings that we would look at and going through there. A couple of other pieces, or at least one other piece that is common to any of the workflows that you might follow, putting together a lot network, is you'll need to define the outside boundary or the limit of your subdivision area that you're working on. So to do that, you want to set the boundary, or if you're using the pull down menu, set boundary, and you simply pick the polyline. The polyline does need to be a closed polyline. Other things that you'll discover about this polyline is when you have your right-of-ways coming in, you do want them to intersect that boundary. Otherwise, you don't have closed areas to subdivide and so on. In this particular case, we're going to do each area on its own, and we've got a couple extra lines in here to just kind of control the boundaries of lots as they're created. So one of the things we'll end up doing is we'll skip the road network. Ultimately, we'll add these two lines as lot edges. But first, we need to add our right-of-way polylines. So we're defining how we confine where the lots go. And again, you just select your right-of-ways, offset from your roadway center lines, and then we're good to go. We'll add the lot edges later. I want to do these outside lots first. And so I'm actually going to skip over some of these editing tools for the moment and subdivide an area. We're prompted to pick inside the area to subdivide. So you simply pick somewhere inside there, and now we get to tell it how we want to subdivide this. We're getting information about the overall area that we're dealing with. Our method's going to be automatic. You can also have it prompt for each area or prompt for the length of each frontage. This one might be helpful if you have cul-de-sacs where you want to run maybe 75-foot frontages, except when you get to the cul-de-sac, maybe you drop it down to 50-foot frontages because the frontage can make the cul-de-sac lots get really large. We'll just go ahead and leave this on automatic. Target of 0.4 acres with a 75-foot frontage. The minimum lot depth is 50 feet. The maximum is 300 feet. The minimum back distance is at 0. And what that means is when you come to a curve, for instance, like this, you could actually end up with a triangular shaped lot where the back lot line is a distance of 0. It just comes to a point. And if you don't want that to happen, you can put in a minimum back lot distance. Let's see, we're going to be perpendicular to the right-of-way. So our lot lines will come off our right-of-way. You can also go perpendicular to the back lot line, and you can see how that might change how some of those lines would be drawn. Or you can go at a specific angle. And again, if you're subdividing smaller areas, there may be a case where that is advantageous to you. Now this area may not divide perfectly into 0.4 acre lots, especially when you consider that these lots may be a little bit bigger. So what do we do with what's left over? Well, I can add it to the last lot. I can create a separate lot for it. I can take that last area and divide it equally among all of my lots. So, or I can create a back lot edge to deal with that extra area. Any of those are reasonable options. In this case, we're using our default lot. If we had defined other lot types, we could tell it what lot type we wanted to use here. And finally, we come to checking building placement. And this again is looking at our setbacks and making sure that our buildings can fit inside the setbacks. Click OK. It highlights our right-of-way, and then it wants us to select the end of frontage to start lots. So we'll pick somewhere at this end and let it start going through and creating lots. All right. So you can see we have our lot, we have our building pad at our setback, we have our driveway drawn for each of our lots, and the setbacks go all the way around the lot. There's a couple of anomalies we might want to look at. One is this extra big lot up here, and this is the one that we added the leftover to. So there's not enough square feet here to actually put in 2 0.4 acre lots, but we could divide this lot and have 2 lots that are a little bit smaller. And let's go ahead and do that. So how do we make that happen? Well, first thing I want to do is make sure I'm on my lot edge layer, the same layer that all my other lot lines are drawn on. And I'm going to draw a simple polyline. And because I want to make sure it's perpendicular here, I'm going to pick a point on my boundary back here and just use a nearest object snap on it. And then we'll come out here and go perpendicular to that. Which isn't going to work, is it, folks? I need to extend this out and make it perpendicular to my right-of-way. Otherwise, it won't recognize the lot edge. Now, nothing's happened yet because it isn't part of our design yet. It's not an actual lot edge until we come here and say add lot edge. And I have two lots now at 0.37 and 0.31 acres. This particular house, I probably want to rotate around the corner and put it over here, and that's fine. I can do that a little bit later. The other anomaly is down here where we got this really odd perpendicular coming off here. This may have 0.4 acres in it, but I don't think I want that lot. So let's use some other tools to clean that up. Let's first remove a lot edge. We'll get rid of this one and hit enter. And it becomes one lot. So now I can use tools over here to move a lot edge point. When I pick the lot edge, I pick the end I want to move. And I can pick a point using, again, my nearest snap back here. And that's still making this one look a little big, so I'm going to grab this end and now move it over here somewhere. And let's see how I did. 0.36. So now I'm going to take advantage of another one of our editing tools, the sliding side area. I'll pick inside this guy and tell it I want to adjust this side, and I want to make that lot, it's asking for it in square feet. I could change it to acres. Let's go A for acres, put in our 0.4, and it actually did a couple nice things for me. This lot's still over 4 acres. This one's exactly 0.4 acres, but it also set my lot line up so it is perpendicular to my right-of-way. This house needs to be adjusted over so it comes off of the cul-de-sac, but other than that, the lot perimeter looks good. This guy needs to get rotated. I'm not sure I like this little triangle up here. So in this case, what we can do is, again, just move the lot edge point. And you'll notice that nothing updated yet. I don't want to turn this into a lot, but what this lets me do is grab this lot edge and bring it down to this intersection. So I get lots that look like this. And once I hit enter, then it applies those changes for me. So I'm a little under my 0.4 acres here. So we can do the same sliding side again. Tell it we want to do acres at 0.4. And we just cropped a little bit out of this guy again. It's still just over 0.4 acres. So looks much nicer now on this end and up here. So now we can go ahead and subdivide these areas. Step 1 is to go ahead and add the right-of-way. I'm sorry, not the right-of-way. We want to add the lot edge. Keep in mind, once we do this, it's going to create 4 lots here and put houses on them, one with a really long driveway. Not worried about it because we can continue to subdivide these. So now we'll come in and subdivide this one using our same parameters and just work our way through subdividing each of these. Got a big lot on this one. We can come subdivide that again. And finally, this last area here. Show a little bit different way to deal with this. We looked earlier at just adding a lot line in here to break that up. It looks like we can do about 0.35 acres here. So another option would be to say subdivide that area And we're going to change this to 0.35 acres. And then we get our 2 lots there, which is just a different method of doing the same thing we did up here. So let's take a peek here. That's looking good. But something has gone awry somewhere because I have lot 10 here and I have lot 10 here. That's not going to work for me. So fortunately, we have, among other things, an option to renumber these lots. So I'll click on that. We want to start with lot 1. And all you have to do is string your little line through all your lots in the order that you want them renumbered in. You can even jump across roads. So now if we look, we have 1 there, 31 there, 32 here, 38, 39, and we end with lot 48. So hopefully you're seeing a little bit of why I thought maybe I should wait to do my lot file until after I got some of these adjustments done. So now my lot numbering is going to be much better. The other thing I can do at this point is go ahead and label all of these. And the way I do that is I come back to my settings, tell it I want to label them. I can edit those settings so I know how things are getting labeled. And these are your standard label settings for bearings and distances and arcs. You can have different ones saved for different cities or counties if you have different requirements. Load those up. Once I've added that, I have a tool down here to update the network labels. And this will take a moment to crank through and update all the labels on our lots. So now we have all of our curves labeled, our lots labeled, bearings and distances all labeled, ready to go. So I've mentioned the lot file a couple of times. So let's go ahead and go to the area layout, go to lot file utilities, and we have an option in here to create a lot file. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not there. It's under our network utilities. Connect my driveways, output to lot file. We need to give our lot file a name. It's also asking for a CRD file because at this time it's going to set points on each of the property corners and radius points. So it wants a file to put those into. So we'll set that up. I wasn't on the new tab. They want to know if we want our outside boundary output to the lot file, and if we want to output the right-of-ways to the lot file independently. I'll go ahead and leave those off for now. So it output 48 lots with 328 points. And now we can go look at our lot file manager. Get our points up. And we can select, for instance, lot 1, tell it we want to edit that. And here's lot 1. with the points on it, the center point for this little arc over here. We can come in and tell it we want to do a report, get a meets and bounds description. I'm not sure I would go with this error of closure here. You might want to run that separately through a map check. But it does give us all the appropriate calls for a meets and bounds description. One of the other things that we'll talk about a little bit later are some of the abilities to recreate the lots from this. So that's pretty well what we're looking at to lay it out without using the road network function. I'm going to go ahead and save this drawing.